Welcome to MacStories Unwind, a weekly review of everything MacStories and more. Today's show is brought to you by Agenda. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We're getting into the holiday stretch here, you know? Christmas around the corner, New Year's, it's right upon us.
It's right upon us. We're going to take a bit of a break. I think we all deserve it. And
Yes.
not to say that it's going to be challenging to spend time with our families this year because of
Yes.
the lockdowns and the pandemic and everything going on, but we're going to try to at least do our best to relax and recharge and come back next year stronger and more inspired and more energized because we have a lot of plans. We have a lot of things that we need to execute on to deliver in 2021. So this is the final Unwind episode for the year, but we're going to come back and we're going to try and relax and chill and play some video games, read some books, listen to music, all the things that make you feel better and give you back the energy that you need to start a new year, which is hopefully going to be better than this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been collecting a ton of articles of all the best of 2020 movies, TV shows, music, books, all those kind of things. And I'm just going to kind of go through those and browse those.
That's a good idea.
And try to pick up some of the things that I missed in 2020 as we wait for new things to come in 2021. So that's one of the things I plan to do over the holidays. You're right. We're going to take a couple of weeks off, and we will be back on January 8th. That's the first Friday we'll be back. So 2 weeks off, then we'll be back with Unwind. Federico, we had a big week.
Yes.
We announced the MacStories Selects Awards, which I was really happy with how the awards turned out this year. They look really nice. And we had an incredibly diverse, wide variety of apps this year that I think did a really good job of giving people a sense for what 2020 was all about when it came to apps.
Yeah, I was really happy with this year's collection. I think it's a good mix of, you can see different trends in it.
Right.
For example, you can see how we picked best new feature. We picked the machine learning based super resolution feature of Pixelmator Photo, which is a great practical example of what these modern machine learning based features can actually do for users. We picked Soar for the iOS 14 widgets. And we saw Reader 5 pick up 2 awards, both the Best Design one and the Reader's Choice Award. And obviously, we've been talking about it so much, it only felt fitting that we picked Craft as Best New App of 2020. And obviously, Music Harbor, if you've seen the story on the site, Music Harbor is our app of the year. Excellent utility to keep track of new music releases, especially it felt like a combination of great technology and great attention to detail and to new and modern APIs for Apple's platforms, combined with the idea that this is the kind of utility that has made our 2020 even just a little bit better, because it helped us discover new music at a time when it felt, especially a few months ago, when it felt like everything stopped, everything was on pause. But with Music Harbor, we were still able to see that, our favorite artists were still coming out with new music and releasing new stuff, releasing new material. So that felt like a perfect encapsulation of 2020, both technologically speaking and personally speaking. So I'm really happy with this year's collection, and I encourage all of our listeners to go check it out on MacStories. And in addition to the winners, also check out the runners-up, because we have some really, really interesting picks in there as well.
Yeah, it's such a deep group of apps this year that really any of those runners-up they were all very close to being the winners too. So those are excellent apps as well. And it's just backing up to Music Harbor for a second. Really, just yesterday, I was thinking about the app again because I opened it up. I was sitting here working, getting ready for the club newsletter, and there were 2 or 3 songs that I immediately wanted to listen to, and it just kind of improves your day a little bit when you're sitting there working away, and all of a sudden you have something new to listen to. It's a great little surprise, especially on Fridays when most new music is released. All right, Federico, we should talk too about iOS and iPadOS 14.3, which came out this week. Which the 0.3 release, I guess historically has always been a pretty big release on iOS, at least in recent years. And really this one doesn't disappoint because there's a lot in here. There's the new ProRAW format that Apple talked about in September at its event, which has already been adopted by a bunch of apps like Halide, and I know Lightroom supports it now, I believe, as does Darkroom.
And I think
it's
Instagram as well, actually.
Oh, yeah, I did. I saw that too. I think that was as of just a day or so
just
ago.
As of yesterday, I believe, they have initial support for ProRAW in Instagram, which is surprising, I guess.
I know. It's funny because I was reading someone's article explaining how when ProRAW wasn't super convenient, and one of the examples was when trying to upload to Instagram. Well, that got fixed within about 12 hours of that article going out. Then there's app clips, which I don't know about you. I have not run into an app clip in the wild yet. I guess some people found a gas station in America somewhere that was using these, right?
Literally the same gas station for everybody, I think. I've seen those pictures of that gas pump, and it looks the same in all the photos. So I do believe it's a single app clip that a bunch of our listeners and readers all discovered on their own, and they took a picture of it.
Do you think people are driving from all across America to this gas station to use the app clip?
Well, I think there's imagine a Venn diagram of MacStories readers and people who refill at that particular gas station, and there has to be an intersection of those two, I suppose.
Obviously, there obviously have been. Oh man! All right, so we also got Fitness Plus this week, which I don't know. Fitness is hard, and I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to, and maybe I'll write about it. I don't know. Or maybe you will, or maybe Alex will. Who knows? But Fitness Plus is out, and the general consensus reviews is that it was really good. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But why don't you tell us what's new with shortcuts? Because there's quite a bit here, a lot of nice quality of life features, as well as things just that really expand on what you can achieve with some of the shortcuts.
Right. So there are two big changes and a bunch of additions. The first one is the comeback of the set wallpaper action. We talked about this before. I wrote about it on MacStories. This is an action that allows you to change your home screen and your lock screen wallpaper using shortcuts, which means you don't have to do it manually anymore. You can make a shortcut that does it for you, or you can even make an automation that changes your wallpaper at different times of the day, or whether you connect to a specific Wi-Fi network, all kinds of conditions. This used to be an action in the beta of iOS 13 in 2019. Then it disappeared, and now it came back in late 2020 with iOS 14.3. So really, really amazing change. I made a shortcut for it. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. The other big change, also I wrote about this on MacStories a few weeks ago. It is now so much better to run shortcuts from the home screen, because when you add a shortcut as a custom icon to the home screen, whether it's because you want to personalize your home screen and you want to use one of those custom app icons that are all popular right now, or whether you just want to add a shortcut to your home screen, perhaps using the MacStories shortcuts icons. When you tap that icon, you're not taken to the Shortcuts app anymore. The shortcut runs in line using Compact UI, just like widgets. This was one of my complaints from the iOS 14 review in October, and I'm very glad that Apple fixed this. And now icons provide the same functionality, the same experience as widgets, but in a much, much more compact fashion. Because we talked about this before, in the same space where you can put a single small widget, you can actually fit 4 shortcuts icons. So if you want to put a lot of shortcuts on your home screen, this is an amazing change. And then we have a bunch of additions in the form of new edit actions to modify contacts, reminders, and calendar events. So it used to be that you could only either create or delete one of those items. Now you can actually edit existing reminders, existing contacts, and existing calendar events. So I'm thinking of some ideas especially for editing reminders in the context of what can I do with shortcuts. Something like rescheduling could be an idea, moving between lists, adding notes, adding subtasks to an existing reminder could be fun. So gonna see about that. But yeah, overall, I'm glad that the shortcuts team has been given the freedom to listen to people and to ship features that people have been requesting for the past couple of months and iterating quickly on shortcuts within the iOS 14 cycle.
Yeah, it's really great to see those changes. All right, Fitness Plus. There were a whole bunch of reviews this week about Fitness Plus, but most of them weren't in the tech press. There were a handful in the tech press. There were, Wall Street Journal, one of their tech reporters reviewed it, TechCrunch did, but most of the reviews came out in health and fitness websites and magazines and that sort of thing, which obviously makes a lot of sense. And the general consensus seems to be that the service is really fun and it's engaging and it scales really well from beginner to expert and doesn't require a lot of equipment. Those all sound good to me. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to try it yet. I did, though, have an opportunity to use someone else's Apple TV that wasn't one in my home, where you could open up the fitness app and immediately I saw my Apple Watch there. So one of the things is that you don't have to necessarily use your own equipment. So if you go somewhere, whether it's a gym, when gyms are open, wherever people live, or someone else's home or something, and they have an Apple TV, if they've got the latest version of tvOS installed, the fitness app is there, and when you open it, you'll see it's just like switching user profiles in the sidebar or the control center of Apple TV. So it'll have a couple of little circles, and it showed my Apple Watch, and then the person whose Apple TV this was. So there's a lot of little nice touches like that, a lot of conveniences. You can download the workouts as well, which I think is a nice touch. And of course, there's deep Apple Watch integration so that your stats, your real-time stats, are being projected onto the screen that's showing the workout video at the same time that you're working out. So you get a sense for how much you're filling up your rings, how many calories you've burned. You can compete using this burn bar feature that allows you to see how you're doing relative to other people who have done the workout. A lot of little things like that make it kind of more engaging and fun. So I'm looking forward to trying it. That's another one of the things that I've got planned over the holidays. I'm starting to wonder if I have too much planned for the holidays, since it really is only a couple of weeks.
I think you need to scale back on some of those plans.
I think so. I do this all the time. It's like, oh, I have a day off. I'll do a week's worth of stuff. But I think I can fit it in a workout or two. So I'm going to try it in the next couple of days.
All right.
What else did we have on the site this week, Federico?
Well, we covered the new cardio fitness notifications on the Apple Watch, which is a new feature that I haven't set up personally.
Me either.
But essentially, your Apple Watch has been able to monitor your cardio fitness level for a few years now. And now with watchOS 7.2 and iOS 14.3, the watch will be able to give you notifications for low cardio fitness levels every few months, I think. It should be able to give you these updates. And so you can adjust accordingly, and you can perhaps change your workout routine, perhaps go see a physician, perhaps do something else to bring your cardio fitness levels higher. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to be spending a bunch of time here digging in and seeing what it actually means. Check out all the details and the support document in the story that we linked on MacStories to see all the technicalities of it.
I was going to say it was a little distressing to see David Smith tweeted that he had low average cardio fitness, and if anybody knows David is very fit.
Yeah, if he's got a low level, I think we're all doomed.
You and I are in big trouble.
We are
Federico.
in big trouble. We also had a review of a game. This new game is called Headland, and it's a new game by the folks at Northplay. This is a charming Northplay, by the way. It's Michael Flarup's game studio. And Northplay is just a charming and really cute and just one of those lovely games that just you look at it and it looks charming and lovely. And it's an adventure game where it's entirely controlled by touch, and you control this little character who starts this adventure in their within the world of their imagination. So that's
right.
Fun. And you fight off monsters, and you need to explore, you need to collect resources. I don't know, the artwork is really cute. The gameplay is really intuitive and forgiving. It's just a fun iPhone game that looks lovely. It doesn't have any in-app purchases. You can try it for free for the first mission, I believe, about 45 minutes, and then you pay $5 or $6 and you own the entire game and you can finish the whole story. just a fun, cute game for the holidays. You can finish this in a couple of days, I bet. So perfect game for the holiday break.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing we got this week, Federico, was we got some more information finally about exactly how power management works on the AirPods Max. And you are pretty down on the case, and I am too. But I actually found this to be kind of good news, because here's the deal. When you have the AirPods Max on your head, you're obviously playing music, and they're fully powered and connected to your phone, your iPad, or whatever. And when you take them off, they go into one power state after, I believe it's 5 minutes, which is low power mode. Now, if you put them in the case, they go into that mode immediately. Then, after 18 hours in the case, or 72 hours just sitting still on some other surface, they go into an ultra low power mode, which I believe disconnects it turns off the Bluetooth radio and the Find My feature. So the reality, I guess the good news of this, if there is any good news, is that you really don't need the case to go into low power mode. It goes into a low power mode very quickly, within 5 minutes. So there's not much difference there. It does take longer for it to go into an ultra low power mode. But I think in most typical use cases, the difference in battery drain when you're not using the AirPods Max shouldn't be that different whether you're using the case or not. Now, I mean, I guess the flip side of that, the glass half empty view of that, is that, well, why is this? How is this a smart case? And what is it really doing other than giving you a holder that doesn't really protect the headphones anyway? What's really going on with this case, which is a fair criticism, I think.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I started off that I was kind of interested in the idea of, well, this is the only way that you could get this low power mode and ultra low power mode, because there's two of them,
right?
And then but then again, I said, well, it doesn't really look like a case. I guess the only perk is the low power mode, and I guess I'll take it. But then we got confirmation that you can get the low power mode by just putting them, in a stationary mode for 5 minutes, which means you leave them on your desk. They're going to enter low power mode, which is ultimately what matters. And I don't know, then I just kind of don't see the appeal of the case anymore. It feels like, and I read the interview that an Apple designer had on a Japanese website about here's why all the design thinking that went into the case. And sometimes that's the thing with Apple design, right? Sometimes you get these beautifully made, genius products like AirPods, like the iPhone, like the Apple Watch. And sometimes you get those oddities that kind of feel like they were overthought, like the Siri remote. Or the old round mouse that Apple made,
or charging a mouse from the
bottom, or the AirPods Max smart case. It's like, man, you should have just gone for a simpler case. That's like, you don't need to. I guess one of the downsides of being a design-based company is that sometimes what's the expression? Every nail needs a hammer or something like that. What's the expression? Oh, come on, John. American expressions.
Yes. Every Why am I blanking on this? Every nail is a hammer. It's not every nail is a hammer.
You are no. We're not cutting this out from the show.
Oh no! You're gonna make you keep this in. Yes, every nail needs a hammer.
That's not the. No, we're gonna leave this in. I don't care. You're not editing this out. Wow, I know this. I know the expression. When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
There you
right.
Go.
So when you are, this is to say that when you are at the kind of company that relies on exceptional design to differentiate yourself, you think you gotta apply that philosophy to everything. And in this case, I just feel like, TV remotes and cases for headphones maybe don't need that kind of deep reinvention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, would you throw these headphones in your bag if
No.
you're going out for the day? Yeah, I
No.
wouldn't either. That's the thing.
Especially because of that really thin mesh at the top. I wouldn't do that.
Right, right. Well, I think this problem will be solved by third parties pretty quickly. So, stay tuned for that. We also had a couple of links on the site this week worth mentioning about ProRAW. One was an excellent article by Austin Mann on his blog where he shows examples of ProRAW and what it can do for you. And some of these, he really is good at pushing the iPhone and its camera system. And he took a bunch of pictures late at night, and they're long exposure photos. And you can see that when he didn't use ProRAW, for instance, the stars in the night sky were kind of erased or blurred by the computational photography built into the system with the JPEG or hike files. And ProRAW preserved all that, and he was able to then edit it in Lightroom or whatever he used to really bring out those details. It's a great way to understand what ProRAW can do. And he also gives a lot of tips on when ProRAW is the right choice for taking photos, which I think is important because ProRAW photos, if you take a raw photo, and I've been doing a little bit of this week, they're big. They're like 25 megabytes or so. And that adds up very quickly if you're taking a lot of photos over the course of a year. Then the other article was from Ben Sandofsky, who is the developer of Halide, and he went into great detail, really starting with the very basics of what digital photography is all about, what RAW is, and what ProRAW is in relationship to that. Really to understand how Apple's kind of threading a needle between the traditional RAW photography field and computational photography, and what is included and what is not in that new format and what it means for photographers. So, I mean, not only is it a good explanation of exactly what ProRAW is and what it means for photographers, but if you've ever been curious just about how digital photography works, this is a great place to start because it really has all the details there.
All right, John. And on this week's also final issue of 2020 for MacStories Weekly, our newsletter for Club MacStories members, I have an extension column. I wrote about I shared my final home screen update of the year, and I shared screenshots and tips for just how I designed a time tracking page on my home screen, featuring 2 different timers for Timery, the time tracking utility, and a text label, a custom text label in between them, with using a transparent widget. So I don't want to spoil obviously all the story, but go check it out in MacStories Weekly. There's plenty of screenshots, and I also shared my some of the themes and icons that I'm using for the home screen now. This was a fun one to put together. But as I mentioned at the very end of the post, I'm curious to see when we come back after the holiday break, just how different this will look already. So I thought it was important to share a final update at the end of 2020. And you, John, and also speaking of customizing the home screen, Alex prepared a collection of utilities for customizing your iOS 14 home screen. So there's a little bit of everything for all kinds of uses, from widgets to icons to text labels to all kinds of things, to shortcuts. So go check it out. And you, John, wrote about a Wikipedia client.
I did. It's a Wikipedia client called Wonder, which has been on the App Store for a long time and hasn't received too many updates, mostly just compatibility updates over the years. But it's still, I still like it because it's kind of an elegant solution. It takes Wikipedia searches and creates little cards, which it calls tabs, but they're almost more like index cards for each of your searches, and it stores them there. And it's just a nice way to research. You can there's a share extension, so you can open Wikipedia links directly into Wonder. You can then share them out from there. The app does a nice job of giving you tools to navigate the outline and hierarchy of a longer Wikipedia article. And it's one of those utilities that's simple, elegant, and gets the job done. And if you're doing a lot of research on Wikipedia on a particular topic, it's a nice way to do that without having to deal with a lot of bells and whistles.
Very nice.
All right, Federico. Also this week, of course, on App Stories, we talked in great depth about the MacStories Selects Awards. So definitely go listen to that if you haven't already. And I want to tell you all about our sponsor for this week's episode and for MacStories this week, which is Agenda. It's been a really big year for Agenda, the calendar-focused note-taking app. In May, Agenda 10 was released, and it added note templates, a powerful share extension, and translations in 11 different languages. And then not too long after that, Agenda 11 came out, which introduced widgets, Scribble support on the iPad, and M1 Mac support for the Mac. And up next for Agenda is a feature that a lot of users have asked about and wanted for a long time, which is tables. It's a great way to organize information, and I know that's something that we've talked about in the context of Craft, which doesn't have it yet either. But Agenda is on the cusp of adding this, that you'll be able to embed them right in your notes on every one of its platforms. The feature is right now in beta and should be out pretty soon. I don't want to commit to an exact date, but it's coming very, very soon. The power of Agenda lies in its ability to link your notes with your calendar events. It's great for things like meetings, for instance, and for reference notes. So if you're meeting with someone, you can have your notes right there next to your calendar event. And then it's really no wonder that this app has both won an Apple Design Award in 2018. And speaking of the MacStories Selects Awards, it was our best new app that same year in 2018. So it's just incredibly innovative, useful, and looks beautiful too. Learn more today at agenda.com and check out the sponsor post on MacStories for more details. Again, that URL is agenda.com. Our thanks to Agenda for their support of Unwind and MacStories. Okay, Federico, it's time for some Unwind picks. What are we going to suggest to people today that they do over the holidays?
All right, so I have a video game for Xbox, but you can also find it on other platforms. This is a game that came out 5 years ago. However, I only recently downloaded from Game Pass, which is an incredible deal. I guess I would also recommend Game Pass for Xbox as a service to check out over the holidays. Dozens of amazing games that you can play by just paying a monthly fee. I mean, generally speaking, Game Pass is an amazing deal. Still,
yeah, it's a really deep catalog.
Yeah.
we have it for both PC and the console at home.
The ultimate
and
version.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a lot. This game is Ori and the Blind Forest. So this is a platform and puzzle game that came out originally in 2015. It has been released on a bunch of other platforms. It originally launched on Xbox One and PC, but now you can also find it on Switch, and obviously you can play it on Xbox Series S, which is what I have, and Xbox Series X too. This is a gorgeous game. It's an incredibly good-looking video game that incorporates elements from platform games and so-called Metroidvania game, in the sense that you control Ori, which is this little white guardian spirit, and Sane, who's the light and the eyes of the spirit tree of this forest that you need to bring back to life. And you explore this beautiful world, and I can tell you it's a very challenging game right from the very first couple of hours. It's not a forgiving game. You need to master the controls. The platforming is really well done, and the exploration really works for me because it's got that type of a Metroid influence in which you acquire certain abilities that allow you later on to go back to previous areas which were previously not accessible. But whether you unlocked like the wall jump or the dash, for example, you can then go back and explore those areas. You have a map, you can fast travel between different points of the map, and the artistic direction and the soundtrack are just incredible. It's one of the best games I've ever played of this style. It's a 2D platform game that it looks absolutely fantastic on Xbox. There's a new one. There's a new game called Ori and the Will of the Wisps that came out, I believe, a few months ago. However, I'm playing the first one. I want to start from the first one, and then I will move to the next one. But yeah, this is a Most days you think of Xbox and you think of Halo and shooters and open world games. No, this is almost a Nintendo-like game in terms of the experience and the craft behind it and the atmosphere. So go check it out. Ori and the Blind Forest is the first one in the series. Check out Game Pass, and if you played Ori and the Blind Forest, I guess go check out Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is the new one.
Oh, that sounds great. I've seen this game just for years now, and I know that it's always been highly acclaimed. And I always wondered if it was more about the art direction than it was the gameplay, but it sounds it's got both.
It's got both of them, yeah.
That's terrific. All right, well, my pick this week is we're going to close out the year with even more Taylor Swift. I think we're both pretty big fans of her, and this year has been a very big Taylor Swift year because she dropped another album, Evermore, just a little over a week ago, I guess it is now. And no one saw the first album coming. And then to have another one drop was really a big surprise. And it kind of, I guess you could say it picks up where the last one takes off, Folklore. And it's terrific. There are a lot of great songs on here. I mean, some of my favorites are like, I like Champagne Problems a lot. That's a really great song. Coney Island and Dorothea. Those are all terrific songs, but there are collaborations here with The National and also with Bon Iver again. Yep. And it's a fantastic album. If you like the first one, I think you're absolutely going to like this one as well. What were your thoughts? I mean, I don't want to pick favorites here, which I'm not sure which one I like better. It kind of depends on my mood, I think. I've listened to both a lot. I've listened to Evermore probably a dozen times in the last 9 or 10 days, and it's really a really good album. It's really grown on me over time too, I think.
Yeah, I actually prefer Evermore to Folklore. I feel like exactly what Taylor said, in how once they finished Folklore, she realized they wanted to go even deeper and explore even deeper of those soundscapes and that atmosphere. And I feel like in Evermore, there's an even richer tapestry of sounds and themes and ideas brought forward in all the different songs. And the way that Taylor is now fully embracing fiction writing, in how certain songs are not necessarily a reflection of her own past experiences. They're not necessarily biographical anymore. They, she started doing this even more in Folklore, and she goes even deeper in Evermore with all these different stories that she's telling, from "'Tis the Damn Season," which is just an amazing song, to Champagne Problems, for example. But also there's that. There are also those songs about herself. For example, Marjorie, which is about her maternal grandmother, who used to be an opera singer. So I just feel like this is an even more mature take on the Pandemic album, so-called Pandemic album. And I appreciate how Aaron Dessner from The National seems to play an even bigger role in this one. And so, yeah, if I had to, I mean, obviously both of them are excellent albums. Nobody's forcing us to pick sides. But if for whatever reason I had to pick one, I would pick Evermore.
Yeah, that's it. You know what's interesting is this came out after the Grammy nominations. I wonder if it hadn't, whether she could have even ended up with Grammy nominations for Best Album of the Year with two separate albums. I don't wonder if that's ever happened before. Yeah. But in any event, it is really good, and I highly recommend it. I think a lot of people still think of Taylor Swift as more of either a country singer from way back or a pop, or kind of a pop star, and she is a pop singer, I guess. But there's a lot more going on here, and her talent runs very deep, and I think these two albums really show off the depth of both songwriting and her musical talent. All right, Federico, that's it for the last Unwind of 2020. You can find both of us on MacStories.net. Federico is at Viticci on Twitter and Instagram. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees, JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you in 2021, Federico.
Ciao, John, and Happy New Year, everybody.